Welcome back to another episode of the Zuriel Show. Now, we're back with the series where we're focusing on the Industry 4.0 and how digital transformation ideally is impacting the lives of both businesses within our culture and our society as a whole. Now, today we have a very special guest, Esther Adem, or Adem Esther. Sorry for that. Introduce yourself to the people, who you are, and simply what you do.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me on the show. So my name is Esther Adem, but I prefer to start with the Adem first because I find there's so many people with the other first name, so I prefer the Adem one. Um, I am a financial systems analyst at Telco Safaricom Limited, and basically what I do is to ensure that any system that where any financial transactions pass through all the systems, it's my role to ensure that those systems are, first of all, working. Second of all, that they are optimized to ensure that the staff is given a wonderful experience. Then the other thing that I do in the team is to drive the digital transformation agenda within finance. Because as we all know, we are driving the digital agenda, but even it's good when you have it per department so that you can realize benefit across the organization. So my role is mainly to ensure that every facet of the finance division is optimally digitized so that any manual processes that you have, all of them are slowly digitized to ensure also we have a fantastic experience for staff and our customers. So thank you very much for having me here today.
Lovely stuff, and really giving us a really good scope, laying the foundation as to what we'll get into piece by piece. Thank you for that. Right,
Yeah.
so for today, we're really just looking at the role of digital transformation and how it's impacting the financial industry as a whole. Now, one thing for the audience at home, if you're not even sure what digital transformation is, do not worry about that. The purpose of this show and this particular segment is to give you a foundation as to what it is and, just to allow you to understand what it's about in your own way. Now, to kick us off, Esther, could you, in your own words, how would you describe digital transformation?
Interesting. So for me, how I would define digital transformation as a whole, not just on the business aspect, is the use of technology just to improve a certain process or something that you constantly do. So I usually break it down in terms of digital transformation can either be something I'm simplifying. By that I mean making something easier. Maybe if it was a 10-step process, now it's a 2-step process. So one is simplification. Two is digitalization, which is more of now bringing manual things into the digital form. So for example, if you're used to maybe signing off papers and now it's put in the system, now that's part of digitalization. So, and then the other part is automation. So automation is basically just finding systems or finding different tools that you can use to ensure that whatever you are doing cannot just be used by you, but the system can do it for you. So it's more of like a robot or something, to just simplify your work. So for me, it's more of simplification, automation, and digitalization. Yes, that's how I would broadly define digital transformation.
Very well defined as well.
Yeah.
I had the pleasure of attending the Digital Transformation Summit Africa yesterday, and one of the speakers really gave a really interesting point as to the importance of not only just understanding what digital transformation is, but he went on to explain that the success of digital transformation within a given organization or business is dependent on the ability to use digital tools. And I found that very, very profound because you find in the finance industry, and I know you can explain this far much better than I could ever, but there's been those changes within the processes in terms of not only how businesses conduct themselves and they're able to operate, but just also in terms of understanding your consumers using these digital tools. Now, to kick us off, what is one to two? What are some evident changes, if you may, that you've noticed within the digital finance industry due to the ongoing transformation?
Okay. Interesting. I think I'll start with the smallest thing which most people can relate to. which is payments. All of us need to make payments once in a while. And if you look at how things have evolved, in the past, simple things as, for example, an organization needing to pay its suppliers, in the past, the supplier will have to go to the organization, get a check, and maybe had to go to the bank and cash it out. But look at where we are right now. You can sit at the comfort of wherever you are and quickly pay all your suppliers. Isn't that beautiful? Even you as an individual, you can just be on your bed, you want to pay for something, quickly you just tap to your bank. I don't know how many, the last time I actually went to my own bank physically to just get anything done because everything is automated. So I feel the finance industry has really gone through a dramatic and drastic change, which has bolstered a lot of innovation and a lot of simplification of what we do. Simple things, for example, still sticking to the banking area. There's so many Kenyans still who are unbanked. Not many people have bank accounts, but look at how some things as an innovative product like M-Pesa, which has been able to penetrate across areas where people didn't know how to access services across on their phones or any other digital tools. So you can see there's been a lot of improvement. And also you look at these days, you can see the digital financial services that have come up and different organizations which are really trying to look for simple ways to ensure that everybody is able to access their services. Right now, if you're a company that involves, of course, paying somebody and your systems are not automated in that people still have to access you physically, then most probably you'll have to be kicked out. So you either have to shape up or you're shipped out. So I have seen a lot of tremendous changes that have happened in the industry. Another example is look at the NSC. In the past, what will happen? Those guys were they red suits and pink suits and all those funny colors? They'll have to write all those things manually on a certain board. Right now, at the comfort of my home, I can easily also purchase shares. I can actually see the trends of how the shares are performing. All these are improvements in the finance sector. Of course, the finance industry is very wide. So I've just picked one or two examples, but you can definitely see that as an organization, if you are not in tune with the simple things that enable your customer to have easy access to your payment platforms, then it means as a business, you will suffer. So I'm actually pretty impressed. I'm really eager to see in the next 10 years, what will be the next big thing that will happen? Because right now we think we have automated many financial items, but oh boy, I still think we are like at 5%. So yeah, a lot of changes, truly. Yeah.
Lovely stuff, and very well explained as a whole. Looking at both sides. Now, I really have to apologize to just take you back a bit. One thing that I always ensure to do with all my guests is tell their stories. That's the purpose of the podcast. Objective is to tell our guest stories and to just briefly take you back. What is one lesson that you learned in high school or university, depending on which you prefer to share, that you feel is relevant to this date?
Wow, interesting. Well, I've learned a lot actually, but I'll just pick one or two
You can
examples.
share as many as you like.
Oh, as many as I can.
Yeah. We have time for that.
Definitely. One of the main thing that I learned and has actually played a big role in my later years. Of course, I'm still in my late 20s, but I feel I've lived a lot of years. So one of the things we learned is you can never work with a certain thing as a silo. In that I mean, if I am, and this I got from my university studies, where we learned that you can't just box yourself into saying, I'll be a finance person, or I will be a certain person, I'll be an accountant, I'll be a marketer. You can't put such things in silos. You have to learn the whole chain all around, because there's a lot of interdependencies, because you are seeing how the world is moving, where as a finance person, I need to understand, okay, these marketing people, first of all, how did they make this product? Which customers were they targeting? And if it's targeting certain customers and it didn't work, what type of analytical tools are they going to use to ensure that we save money next time we target the right customers? And in the same process, there are so many other things that come into play where I also need to work with, for example, the risk team to look at what are the areas in which you can ensure we don't lose money. So as you can see, I learned that a lot of things are intertwined. You can't work in silos. You need other disciplines in your life to ensure that you have a balance, even in your career. So that was one of the main things that I learned, that never think that what you know is enough. Make sure you learn everything around it, because there's a lot of interdependency towards it. So that's point number one. Yes. Point number two is that you just need to take some things a little bit easy, because we find, like now you can see that yes, the digital transformation era, there's everyone is talking about we need to move to this space, we need to do that. But when you sit down and you analyze, okay, how will this benefit me? How will this make me or my organization become a better organization, instead of just copying another firm just because it's what people are doing? So it was more of learning what works for me. So whether it's in my personal life or it's in my work life, it's just slowing down and trying to understand what works for me only. So yes, so
Yeah.
some of the things I learned, yeah.
Wow, very powerful, very, very powerful. One thing I can say for that I see is, if you may, a common theme is a lot of my guests really, one unique theme is the understanding that not only should you give it your all in what you do, but you should also have that understanding to have an open mind that if this is not the thing that I'll be doing the next 4 or 5 years, I should at least be setting myself up for the future opportunity. So it's really amazing how you're able to echo that in a very
Yeah.
um, direct one. Thank you for that. Right. To pick things up, I really like how you mentioned the idea of working within or having that understanding of digital transformation within teams as a whole. You know, how you're driving digital transformation within the finance teams, legally speaking, that is. What would you say is the role of leadership when it comes to digital transformation? Or maybe to guide that question slightly better, how can leaders, foster the right project environments to drive rapid digitization?
Good question, good question. So I feel that leaders actually play a very, very big role in all this,
Yeah,
because you can imagine digital transformation is a relatively new concept.
yeah,
And also, as you may be aware, um, we are living in different times where, of course, there's the millennials, there's the baby boomers, like
yeah,
different groups of people. And of course, there are groups which are not so easily in tune with where the world is going. So I feel this is where the leaders come in, where to dispel this idea of my job will be snatched. Oh my God, if we digitalize this, if this digital transformation thing is picked up, then tomorrow I will be jobless. That's where the leader needs to come in and motivate their people, where they are told, okay, can you imagine that just because we are going to bring in or automate this particular process, we will allow you to do more beneficial things. We will allow you to do things that assist you to think, assist you to see the world in a bigger perspective. Because if you look at specifically the finance area, generally finance has been very manual, generally, where you find, for example, if you're doing reconciliations, you have your cash book on the side, you have your bank statements on the side. So you can imagine this person who, for the last 10 years in the same organization, he has gotten used to that manual process. Then you come and tell them, by the way, we want to automate this thing. So where does the leader come in? The leader should come in to motivate them and be the champion. Because most
yeah,
of us, actually, I believe all of us, we tend to copy what our bosses do. So if my boss, I can see my boss, for example, no longer reads the physical newspaper and is trying to move to the digital side and read it online and is encouraging people to do that, I will tend to copy what that boss is doing. I'll tend to emulate. So I believe leadership
yes,
across all facets, not just finance, leaders play a role in assisting to change the digital mindset, because digital transformation cannot work as long as people's mindsets are still stuck to the old ways of working. So
Yes,
their
yes.
main role is just to change the mindsets and the attitudes to see what is on the other side. You're used to this. Can I show you a better way of doing things? So I believe that's a very important role that leaders should definitely steer. Yes.
Oh, lovely stuff. And I think that it reminds me of a point as well, bringing back to the summit, yesterday's summit. One of the speakers also mentioned that in order for a country to transform, the people, for a country to digitally transform, the people have to be transformed first. And I think the lack of communication, or I don't know if I may call it the lack of communication, but maybe the lack of understanding of how to communicate that this transformation, this is what's going to happen, this is how it will be, this is how you'll benefit. Because if you look at something like maybe look at something as basic as in Kenya, we have the Vision 2030. If you, I, within my friendship circle, if I was to pick up just one of those individuals and to just ask them, how many of you actually know what is in this document and what it's going to, what's in store for you? You'd find maybe one, but I'm still doubting, would actually know. So if there was that understanding of the youth's role, or just the user's role being now the teams in terms of how they benefit from it, I think there'd be almost like there'd be a unison form of movement, because you'll find that now people are rejecting this thing, as you now rightfully mentioned,
Yeah.
because either they do not understand what it's going to do for them in their lives, or maybe they're seeing it as the enemy, due to love for better once again. So yeah, really like the new piece there together.
Yeah.
Lovely. So when it comes to challenges in terms of implementing transformation within the finance sector, what is the main challenge that you see, uh, that you're in mind sharing when it comes to implementing transformation within the finance industry?
Okay, good question. Um, I'll just speak on what I've experienced also. So, number one is what we just talked about,
Yeah.
where there's a lot of resistance, where people think you'll snatch their jobs. So, when maybe you're coming here to improve a certain system, of course you need their guidance. You need these same people to explain the current process that they are using, so that you can help them automate those processes. So, because they have that negative perspective, the whole process is dragged. A project
Yes.
which will have taken, for example, 2 months to complete takes a whole year, because there's a lot of infighting, there's a lot of people not being sure of how this thing will affect them or affect their jobs. So that has been the biggest problem. But I
Yeah.
believe, as I've mentioned before, having great leaders who are able to give a roadmap, because I think, as you mentioned, poor communication or poor guidance as to where the organization is heading. Or, for example, does the leadership have uh, like a strategy, a digital transformation strategy? For
Yeah.
example, you may decide to say by 2025, we would like to have automated or digitized 10 processes. So when this is communicated well to the staff, then this kind of reduces the friction that you have between the people who are helping to automate and now the people who will actually be assisted through this automation. So that has been the main challenge, number one. The second challenge is you find certain tools or certain systems that assist in the digital transformation agenda are not as cheap or are not as easily available. For example, like in our organization, we've been able to use robotic process automation, RPA, where it's like you use robots to kind of just do manual repetitive tasks, which otherwise staff would be the ones to do. But you find it's
Yeah.
not something cheap. It's not something that even a small organization would be eager to buy. So I believe funds have been a very big challenge to most organizations, where you're just limited to a certain space, you're limited to certain tools or certain systems that you can use, which maybe might not be the best for you at that moment. Then I think those are the main two challenges that I've seen so far. I think the others are more, these things that can just be sorted once in a while like that. So I feel those are the two main challenges that many people are struggling with. Yeah.
Okay. Lovely stuff. Lovely. And thank you also for sharing also through your personal experience. Thank you for that. So as we wrap up this segment as a whole, I wanted to know, you mentioned future trends, and I was excited when you did mention that, because I want to know, for the very final question to ask, what are some future trends that maybe you can foresee within the next 3 to 5 years, or it could even be wider than that? Yes, that you can foresee within the industry.
Good, good. I think the most exciting trends that I'm seeing and I'm reading about is application of different tools or different systems such as machine learning and AI and blockchain and RPA. These are things which 5 years ago, you'd think they're just technological terms which don't apply to a finance person. All a finance person needed to do was know how to debit and credit. That was it. But the future of finance is so bright and so beautiful, because you see, we are now involved in the whole process of the organization. We are involved in the process where a customer is onboarded, a customer is provided a service that they required, and the customer pays. In all this chain, the finance person is involved. And that's a very beautiful thing, because it means we are open to using the different tools, such as what I've mentioned, machine learning, for example. A big company like ours right now, there's a lot of transactions that come in a day, millions and billions of transactions. You can imagine it will require so many human beings to sit and actually go through those transactions. But look at what machine learning is doing for us. It can analyze all that data in milliseconds, and it will give this finance person a view or ability to advise the customer, whether it's maybe somebody wants to buy shares, or even in any organization. You're able to analyze your customer. You're able to see what works for this customer. As a finance person, what works for this customer? I can even do predictive analytics, where we can see, okay, maybe in the next year, we'll be able to get this amount of money. And I think you've seen that even in the yearly financial results by most of these companies, where they can forecast. They can tell you in 2021, we expect to get this much revenue. I don't think this is something which will have been possible years ago. And I believe even as the years go by, we will have better tools. We'll be able even to sit at home and you're just looking at different results. As in, just, I find it's such a wide space. It's such a beautiful space where there's so much opportunity to learn. There's so much opportunity to do things easier, do things better. So I believe in the next couple of years, finance will be one space to watch, just because of the transformation that is happening within that industry. It's not like years ago where finance was just the team that will pay and receive money. Right now, it's embedded in the decision making. For an organization to make money, a finance person who has understanding of the different tools that can be used to ensure that company money is preserved, company money is multiplied, company money is well used by the organization, then I believe there's room for so much. There's room for growth in the finance industry, and I can't wait to see what more or what else is there to install. So I'm pretty excited.
Lovely, lovely. And also, just to echo your final words, I'm sure you've heard the phrase that we're just seeing the iceberg of as to what's to come. And I'm reminded of a quote of an individual who said, "The machines have just begun learning. They have just begun learning." So I think that's slightly echoing not only enthusiasm for the industry, but also your understanding of what's to come and how much we still do not know, which is also, once again, the reason for this segment that we'd like to keep doing. Really just keep in touch with individuals who are in the industry and giving the relevant information out through a simple podcast such as this.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Very insightful. I've learned a good amount of knowledge. To reach the very, very final question of the day, we always have a repetitive question, which our goal is to advise you. Now, that question simply is, what is your one piece of advice that you would give to your 20-year-old self if you had the opportunity to give yourself that phone call to your 20-year-old self? Yeah.
Nice. It's beautiful that I'm still in my 20s, so
Yeah.
I think
Yes.
I'm still in the range of advising myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, One thing is, I will tell my 20 or 21-year-old self is
Yeah.
be open to learning, be
Mm.
open to knowing that not every experience will have a monetary value. Some experiences will grow you in different aspects. You know, when you were younger, all you were taught is, maybe even when in campus, is you do well and then you'll get a big job and you will do so well in life, you'll buy big cars and all that, and just
Yeah.
ensure you stick to that career that you have, that
Yeah.
you've taken time to learn. But what I've come to realize is, take time to learn different things. You may never know how all those things tie to your later life. And I think that's the one advice that I would give myself, and I actually utilized, because when I started off, yes, I did finance and accounting in my undergraduate, but
Yeah.
working for an organization that allows you to do different things and learn different aspects, that's when I was able to learn a lot of technology. I've been able to immerse myself in marketing. Another side thing I do is I do events planning for finance people. As in, I
Wow.
believe, yes. It's those things which you don't learn in school, but because those are items where opportunities you're given to grow yourself in different
Mm.
aspects, different spaces, is what has brought me to this point. So I would tell myself, congratulations for taking your own advice from the future to the
Yeah.
past.
Yeah.
Learn, be open to learn and be open-minded and have a fantastic attitude. It's the only way you'll survive in this so-called digital era. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Yeah.
And very, very profound as well. It's been an amazing, amazing time having you on the show. Because on my end, I know very little about the finance industry. I may have a scope regarding digital transformation, but this has been amazing putting the different pieces of the puzzles together. And as well, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show to really just be a part of a community, a small and growing community that we're simply looking to spark conversation surrounding digital transformation, innovation, and youth development. And you've been an absolute blessing to be with us today. Thank you very
Thank you
much.
so much. Thank you so much for having me. I look forward to just also hearing other conversations on this, because it's a changing environment. So I'm
Yes,
very excited. Thank you so much.
thank you very much. And for the
Oh,
audience, thank you for making it all the way to the end. As always, be sure to like and subscribe if you find value in the content. And share this video, and if you find value in it. Okay. Until next time, be safe. Goodbye.